I'm Shelley Appleton. Welcome to this training insight. This is riding risk management. I want you to watch the following 30 seconds of video and predict whether you think the rider will A, fall off the horse, or B, settle the horse. Now, I conducted an experiment on a horse group. I gave them no information about the case, I just showed them the video. And what I did is I released the video in 10-second segments and asked them to vote at the end of each 10 seconds whether or not they predicted the ride would end in a fall or if the horse would settle. Here are the results and the final 30 seconds of the ride so you can see what happens. So what did happen? Let's have a look. Yes, that's a fall and a concussion taking place. So why did so many people think the horse would settle? Well, I asked them. It's because we see this kind of tension in horses all the time and things can turn out okay. Plus, they said the rider looked relaxed. Well, the rider didn't look to be panicking. And the horse appeared to be doing what was asked. Interestingly, though, when we asked the rider what was happening, and a big thanks to my friend Kat, this is very old footage of her when she was a kid. And what happened, this horse here, she was trialing, she was for sale and she was riding it as a pre-purchase ride. And the horse was a standard bred horse that was just 6 weeks off the track. And she'd only had about 6 to 12 months riding experience under her belt at this time. And she'd never fallen off a horse. So just to let you know, behind that footage you saw was that she actually realized the horse was hard to steer and had no brakes. And she knew she was out of control after 20 seconds. In fact, at that 20-second mark, she was actually trying to actively stop the horse. And she'd actually also never fallen off a horse. So this really does raise the question of why are we so conditioned to seeing anxious and tense horses? And does this actually cloud our perception of what we see and predict? Because what everyone saw, many people saw the disaster that was about to happen or predicted a disaster, but many people didn't. And, was it this perception, because we see it all the time, that we're so conditioned to it that our radars or our alarm systems are not going off? And especially when what we saw was not the reality of actually what the rider was experiencing. And, the rider's apparent relaxation, was that just her naivety or shutting down? Naivety because she'd never fallen off a horse, so she wasn't panicking. She wasn't able to predict what was going to happen. She just knew she was out of control. Or was she actually shutting down? So what was happening, the perceptions of people watching this video were not correct. They were flawed. So what were the factors involved in this accident? Well, at the core of it, there was a poor response to the aid. The horse had no mouth, no steering wheel at all, and no brakes, and its accelerator was stuck. And you could see the horse's anxiety escalating. Now, that tension then resulted in a gait disturbance and balance issues for the horse. There was obstacles where she was trying to ride, and the surface was slippery. So the horse actually slipped because it was so unbalanced, and that's what actually resulted in the actual fall. But the root cause of it was this very poor response to the actual aids. And really also, it even goes back to an even deeper root cause, is that the rider lacked awareness that was important, that when she just got on and started riding, there was no assessment for that. There was no awareness of that. So could have this accident been prevented? Absolutely, it could have. And we shouldn't see this as something that's normal or typical. That's actually a really bad reflection on the community. Normal should be, and what I hope to be one day, is an awareness of assessing the horse, testing responses, assessing the environment. And this just becomes the way that it's done. So there needs to be change. There's always going to be risk involved in riding horses. However, risk can be managed and reduced by being predictive and proactive about managing stress. Because after all, it's fairer on the horse. So there needs to be a greater awareness of how to assess the horse's ability to respond to their trained responses and to cope with situations, to make good decisions about that, when we're presented with them. Plus, to assess other risk factors and how they can be reduced, because the environment that the horse was riding in had a lot of risk associated with it. If you'd like to find out more about my thoughts, have a read in the description and look me up.